Nothing wrong? Are we good to go?
Yeah, good.
Oh, okay. Alright, sweet. So, our topic is student athletes and how they should be recompensated for what they do.
What is the exact question
So-
we're asking though?
Just how can we accommodate or
It's-
compensate them?
Yeah, because the question of policy is really, yeah, I think it's how it's worded on the
Right.
Google Doc, which is, how can we,
Stop student at that export.
it's exploitation in a sense, but I think the question we want to address is really, how can we better accommodate student athletes so that they can be compensated fairly by the NCAA for their effort. I think
Right.
that's it.
Money.
Yep.
So we should talk about the nature of the problem first,
Yeah.
like, as a whole.
Alright, so the NCAA makes like billions and billions of dollars.
Right.
Schools make all these money. This is how they get all their fame and all the publicity. They sell jerseys all the time. Like they just have merchandise and crap about these athletes. And what, they get nothing besides
Scholarships.
scholarships.
Right.
Yep.
And the additional cost of actually adding one student is pretty much zero for a university for scholarship. So the scholarship's not even exactly a valid, or it's not enough of a compensation to the athletes because they are bringing in all this extra revenue through advertising to the television companies.
March Madness even.
March Madness, yeah, is a good example that's going on now, and specifically in basketball and football, where those are like, even the professional levels is benefiting from, the collegiate
Mhm.
Right.
system, especially in basketball and football.
Yeah, this study actually that I found is really cool. It was published, I believe it was 2011, so I'm not even, I think it's still relevant.
Oh, yeah.
But
Definitely.
it said that the study shows that the average football and men's basketball players from the BCS conference would receive an average of over $714,000 and $1.5 million respectively, above and beyond the value of their full athletic scholarships over the 4 years between 2011 and 2015. If the NCAA's policy wasn't, it's not a fair market. They don't make money, so the profit doesn't go to them. So that's how much money they would make
Right.
if they were in a fair market. Which
So-
is nuts.
Who's collecting money? The school.
Who's called? What do you say?
Who's collecting the benefits? The school.
Yes, definitely
And
school
the
and
NCAA.
also the coaches and all of their athletic directors, because they're making like millions in salary.
Yeah, I mean they
From
make
it.
more than professional leagues.
Right.
Oh, yeah, this is cool.
One of my articles said something about that of the 50 states, the highest publicly paid employee was in 40 of them was a college basketball coach or football coach. So that's pretty crazy to think about that. 'Cause
Yeah,
like Nick Saban makes like $7 million a year.
The coaches make more than like the university presidents themselves.
Yeah, a lot more.
Even the assistant coaches, like it was the Forbes article that we were have been looking at, even said that at one point, like one of the assistant coaches in basketball and football is actually getting paid $1 million as well. Like they actually at least one assistant coach broke $1 million mark.
But we can kind of get off topic here, so we kind of go like more like the severity of the problem, because
I think we also need to consider like the actual scholarship part. This in the sense that like sure they're only getting paid like in scholarships, but these student athletes that come to these schools, like they're not really here to go to school. They're here to
Yeah.
work on their athleticism. So
so they can
But the
do-
People just kinda,
NCAA says that their academics come first, but in reality, it's not
Mhm.
true.
literally, yeah, like that's
If you talk to
does
anyone.
not happen.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Like these kids really are just kind of are here to get to their pro leagues and just
But
watch.
the thing of this way too, like if we were to pay them now, like right now, like there's always a conflict of it, but like it's not gonna change a lot. I think like right now it's still like college sports, like everyone's still gonna watch college sports if they're not paid. Like it's still something that if it doesn't change, like right now, it's not gonna be a big problem. But
It's just a
eventually,
matter of whether or
yeah,
not
it's
it's
just
fair.
eventually people are gonna, wanna change the policies and stuff, but I just think right now, it's not a hugely severe problem.
What about paying
And
it?
it's not
Yeah,
causing
right
it's
now.
not causing
Yeah.
people not to come and
Yeah,
play
exactly.
college sports.
Yeah,
Yeah.
once we get to that point,
Then
That's a
then it's
problem.
gonna change.
but that doesn't mean that that they shouldn't get paid, I'm just saying that.
Oh, no, I'm not talking
No,
about them being paid. I'm
That's
talking
severe
about-
threat.
And
What-
the severity of the problem could be more seen, I think so, of them not being compensated is in, especially student athletes who maybe have come out of like inner cities or come out from places and they may not have tons of money, because like contrary to a lot of people's popular belief, like these kids that come in here and play football and play basketball and play lacrosse and wrestling and swimming and volleyball and all those, they don't all grow up in these areas where they're going and playing on $3,000 travel teams every summer, and they don't have that opportunity. Their families don't even have that money. Some families can't even drive their kids to basketball practices if they wanted to. So when these students come here and they're put in an environment, it's in like a collegiate environment, it's only fair to them that they are also receiving some kind of stipend because of their efforts and because of what they're providing to the university, so that they
Well,
can
they
have
eat
money
too.
to eat and to live and to, you know, do the
Yeah,
things
go
that
buy
normal
a
students have the
shirt.
ability to do. Yeah.
Yeah, it says this study is really actually very informative. Here it says the average full athletic scholarship at an FBS school left full, which I guess is full scholarship players, with a scholarship shortfall, which is out of pocket expenses that they have, of $3,285 in 1 year. So it doesn't seem like a lot, but I mean that's probably the minimum when you think about it, and add that times that by 4 from someone who comes from nowhere and
Yeah.
they can't afford it. So it's
Yeah.
really just a matter of it's. I think it's their right to have that, you know.
Right.
And another thing where I think that can be really used to argue for them getting paid, that I connected to it because I used to have friends, and I still did, that are in ROTC, and
Yeah.
they get stipends, and you know they are pretty high, but the thing is they're not. If you add up all their stipends they get during their school year, it's pretty much what the NCAA said they were trying to enact something that was going to be $2,000 for a school year. Well, like if you crank it up to like 3,500, because what you say it was like 3,000, 3,200 around that the average student athlete will pay, like out of their own pocket.
Yeah.
Like to pay that kind of like a similar stipend to what the ROTC does is, you know, if the government's doing this kind of spending, you know, they're not necessarily getting the direct revenue from things. You know, the university's getting that revenue from those sports. They can afford to pay the students a small stipend every month.
But not every school. That's the problem.
That's
why they
the
can't
other
do
part.
it.
But the NCAA's revenues are absurd.
Right. But it'd be individual schools without the
Yes, yes.
And I know Boston College does it because these kids don't have enough time to get a real job.
Yes, exactly. You don't have time.
Correct.
That's the
But-
other thing. They dedicate like 40 hours a week to practice.
Yeah.
Like, it's absurd.
Think less right now about the money and more about the value of their degrees. So a kid graduates from here for football, he's going to the pros, and he went to school for interdisciplinary social science. You get a BA. And you get a BS in something else. Maybe like physics or math. So you both have a degree from the same institution. Do you think like the integrity of his will bring yours down a little bit? Because I mean, it seems kind of weird that they do all these simple little majors just for the athletes just to get A's and be able to play.
Well, I don't
Whereas
think
we're
that's
actually like
true.
doing all this hard work to get a real degree. So it's kind of like seems like they're lowering the standards of education just so they can raise their levels of athleticism.
I think that comes to more like an individual basis too, because like, I mean, I don't know, I'm really into lacrosse, and there's Division I lacrosse out there that they get a 4.0, that have a 4.0 and are like top of their class in pre-medicine. So like, I think it comes down to the ambition of the student and what their career goals are too.
Yeah.
But I do also understand what you're saying, whereas, you know, why do we have, you know, especially for some classes, like you can't deny that there are some classes generated maybe towards football players especially, and like those guys that, you know, allow them to keep their GPAs up so that they can compete, you know, well, those should be offered.
They're also giving
I mean,
tutors. and
Yeah,
all that.
and
yeah.
yes, and I think like we should like ask those like players like 10 what are they going to do after they graduate. Some people
Mhm.
may like going to like be a professional outfielder. But
Majority.
some of the people they think I'm a player. I'm just playing in the college time, and after graduate, I may become other career. I think this
Majority
is.
of them, I think, you know.
Yeah.
I know it's not just football, that's the main revenue driver, obviously, which is why, like, the money
Bas-
issue, but,
Basketball's probably more because of March Madness. Like the TV, I had an article. TV advertising for March Madness is $1 billion, which is more than all the NFL playoffs. So
Yeah,
that's
like
pretty crazy to think about.
yeah.
both football and basketball are the biggest,
Yeah.
for sure.
I think, you know, the
But I
value
think we
of
should go to
degree
criteria now,
aspect.
right? We talked about all this, right?
The academics. I think that there's, the severity of the problem with academics, I don't think is that bad, because there's no way that Penn State makes classes specifically easier, like, say it. I mean, teachers probably know that they have a lot of student efforts in the class and might be easier, but like, think of the easy classes you've taken, you know what I mean, to boost your GPA. It's kind of the same thing. And like, people are, I guess, like, smarter and not, I don't know, compared to each other. So classes are oriented for kids that aren't, you know, as bright as others. So I think it's not a matter of the athleticism of that academic.
Penn State wise, yeah, I don't think we have that issue.
Other
Supposedly
schools.
just because like of our whole success with the honor thing.
Mm-hmm.
But look at the Southern School,
Yeah.
like Florida State University. 35 of the kids on the national championship team were in this major called interdisciplinary
What's that even mean?
social science. Exactly. It's like the biggest bullcrap major
You're talking about Florida State? Are you talking about?
for Florida State.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, it's so ridiculous. So it's like,
Well, that should be addressed by the NCAA. Well, that's
yeah, that's something. I think it is something to consider if we're gonna make a solution. Because like,
Mhm.
I think I have a solution you guys might like.
Mhm.
But,
Alright,
So
so
here that.
what's our criteria then? Let's
Yeah.
move to
Yeah,
that for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
We've talked about.
Gotta move on here.
Gotta keep on the agenda.
So our criteria would be like
Costs.
costs,
Um,
right?
Is it fair? Is it effective?
The cost of what?
The cost of paying athletes. The cost
Okay.
of
The cost
Yeah.
of giving the athletes.
Yeah.
So are you gonna say paying as in we are going to define that as like a stipend? Is that what we're gonna,
That would be in the,
I don't think.
that would be in the
solution? Okay. No,
Yeah.
come on.
And you also have to think about like all the divisions in sports too, because like, would it be fair to give, you know, a Division I athlete who obviously is gonna generate more revenue for the NCAA, money or whatever we're talking about, and then a D3 athlete who probably will never go pro at all or anything like that, and not
And there
train.
aren't even athletically based scholarships in Division III. It's all academic based.
They call it.
Yeah.
They call
It's
it
academic, but it's
Yeah.
really like a scholarship. But it's
Yeah.
there, in a lot of times it's not even that much money.
Right.
I think it goes back to, you know, that fair market value thing. So like, if a player in a D3 school, their market value is not gonna be as high as somebody in a D1 school, so
Right.
that the amount of money that they're allocated would be very different. I think, just depending on what their value would be in a fair
Mhm.
market.
Alright, so what's some other criteria?
Where's the money gonna come from? Essentially, like, who is gonna foot the ultimate bill? Is the NCAA going to pitch
Mhm.
X amount of revenue towards schools based on, I mean, essentially they would have to say, okay, Division I, each school gets X amount of dollars towards helping
Right.
support, and then Division II gets X amount, and then Division III gets X amount. So like a tier system almost.
That's cool.
So like that would be, you know, who's actually going to pay for the bill, you know? Because then you could say, okay, the schools who generate the most are gonna get the most amount of money, but then that doesn't work at all because schools like Penn State don't really need that extra money. The schools that kind of don't generate any are the ones that need that extra money.
Right.
So it's almost like a free rider problem then, where you're giving money to the schools that don't really do much. You know, they're just kind of like there.
Involved in the sports.
Right.
Yeah. So that would be a big thing: is who's gonna pay? Like, how are you gonna figure out who's paying? Or does each,
And how much?
or does the NCAA say exactly how much? So does the NCAA say, okay, you can pay your college athletes, and then, but do they put a minimum and a maximum on the sanctions? So like each tier has minimum and maximum. So like you can get between this much and this much. So like, for example, you're at least required to get $100 a month, no matter what school you go to in Division One, and then you can get a maximum of up to $500 a month, you know, and then that can be at discretion of the school.
Yeah, even it can be like the school's issue, not even
Mhm.
NCAA.
Yeah.
They can even opt for it, an option, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it is where the money's going. But I think too, like, it's, the whole rule of the amateurism is what they call it.
Yeah, right, stuff like
They don't allow stipends or compensation, but I think that whole, do we have to abide by that? Like, is that gonna be a criteria still? Because I think, what am I trying to say? Like, should the rule be changed instead? You know what I mean? Like, should we be thinking in terms of like, we wanna change the rule, or we want to, is it just like an idea, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean,
Just
because you're not playing professionally doesn't mean like
yeah.
they don't have any skills. But then again, I mean, these kids are just coming right out of high school. Why should they just automatically just make like this huge sum of money
Right.
for not being trained?
And the problem with what are they gonna do with that money?
Yeah.
It's like gonna.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's gonna educate them? Right?
Yeah.
Well, also criteria wise, is it every sport? Are we considering every sport of schools? 'Cause
That was the other
I-
question
that's it.
is,
I
like,
think it's-
are you gonna give the kid on the fencing team $500
No,
a month?
I
They
think
Because
it's,
wouldn't-
they
I
don't
think it's
generate
top
tickets.
sports like college basketball, college football. That's pretty much the problems here.
Mhm.
Like other
Yeah.
than that, like everything
Okay.
I think.
And I know too, like, I don't, we're not athletes, but as a cheerleader, like, we don't get anything.
Right.
And so it's kind of like a thin line, because we do so much. Like
Mhm.
and not just cheerleading. Like, we'll do community events, we'll do tailgates. Like, we go all over the place, and we don't get anything. So I think too, like, what exactly, if that would even be considered in that category of receiving any type of
Right. You
compensation.
guys have to try out, right?
Yeah, I would try that.
Scholarships. I mean, some of these guys get full rides, and I mean, I think that's a great compensation. You don't have to pay anything, get free housing, probably free food.
Food plan.
But there are some like sports that like you also have to work hard for. You don't really get much. Probably get maybe half the scholarship.
We have a lot of half rides. Yeah, my cousin's actually coming here and playing lacrosse, and she got half.
Yeah. I mean, it's still good,
There's
but
nothing to
Like,
play about.
nothing to you, Penn
It's,
State.
yeah, exactly, because they talk about, you know, how few college athletes are actually at the college. Well, if there's so few and the cost of adding a student is virtually nothing to the university, then why don't they all get their education for free?
Yeah.
I'm not saying you don't necessarily have to pay for their housing and stuff. I could see how that could end up getting expensive, but hey, your tuition, that's on us. Your education itself, your education and maybe like your books, that's on us. You
I know that there is, you know, we have special libraries that have all of our books, and if they don't have it, they'll order it in for you. So that is like something, and I think too, like the housing and everything is this school's way of getting around the NCAA's law, I guess, you know, but it still isn't good enough. But it's very true.
Did we talk about like fairness? I don't think we talked about that, right? For criteria.
for college.
Like, is it fair to, you know, give money to, say, someone in D1 or not, something like that?
Oh.
Well, I think our overall question is, should college athletes be paid, right?
Right.
For their efforts. So
For their
if you're in a
efforts.
D3 school versus a D1 school, you're most likely not going to put in as much time.
So
Yeah.
efforts is like the key there, yeah.
Like a D3 school would be more geared to actually the student part as opposed to the.
But you also think about, like, say we start paying, you know, D1 athletes now, but like D1 athletes that played before, like, aren't they gonna get mad and be like, oh, we should
Yeah.
get money, so we're gonna sue? And then that could be a huge problem that comes from paying now.
That's true.
That's what I'm talking about,
the-
with fair, like,
The other thing too that you can look at there is like, I'm trying to connect because like you can look back to like the like Olympics and stuff like that, and like no one was suing once they had allowed dream teams to start happening. They got rid of amateurs in the Olympics. Like no one was suing for like, hey, well we could have won that gold medal because we're the best at basketball in the world and we have the best players here. But since we couldn't use the best professional players, we didn't have the best amateur players. So like that has to kind of be like put behind people, and like the case in which people could sue. I mean, rules change, laws
Yeah, if the
change.
NCAA changes their policy, then
The policy changed when the players weren't in there, so they would just, I mean, it would clearly state that, okay, this is the year that we're gonna decide to give stipends to players
Mhm.
and not directly pay them.
What about ethical? Is it right?
Is it right to pay them?
Well, yeah, like,
The
if
integrity of the
you're
sport.
volun-
You're in college,
yes, the
fine
integrity
for-
of the sport.
because you love the sport.
And apparently that in college, according to the NCAA, and according to, I guess, the schools too, like, the only reason why these kids are here is for school, and then athletic
Schools
second.
first, yeah, that's what they say, but it's not true. But
Yeah.
that's what they say.
So, I don't know if it's even ethical to,
Well, would it be more ethical to pay students? This could also solve a lot of the across sports thing. Like, okay, so you say these sports, like you say any sport they can be paid under. Student and then universities can determine where they're going to put their money for each sport, and then on top of that, students are paid based on the hours per week that they are required to be at practices and workouts.
Right.
So like just like any other job, because we're saying they don't have time to have jobs. This is their job. So okay, so you're at practice for 20 hours a week, and we're gonna pay you $10 an hour or whatever. So then you get $200 a week or whatever after taxes. Like, would it be fit? Like, is that a fair way to do it? Because if the argument is
Everybody's
really
getting
that
paid
they don't
like the same amount for doing less.
exactly. So then you just get like, oh cool, like I'm on the bowling team and I just go to the bowling alley for an hour a night and like that's awesome. And then like you're on the football team, like, oh, I just practice for 7 hours on Saturday, and it's like, so that's, I think, another question of fairness that we can consider is they should, if we're gonna say that, you know, this is their job, they should be paid like every other job is in the world, and basically or every other job in college is on an hourly basis,
Right.
like a part-time job.
that is, yeah, I think the fairness, our solutions are going to determine what's fair, not like, different solutions will be more fair than others.
But we're saying that it's fair for them to be compensated for their efforts right now, is what we're saying.
Yeah, they
We're not
can-
saying how,
Yeah,
but that it is.
oh, yeah.
I think how long are we in time, you know, let's say?
It's one of those.
22.
Oh, shoot, am I even in?
What?
22 minutes.
22? Alright.
Yeah, your son is in there. So.
Okay.
We could probably go to solutions now.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we're gonna spend the most time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Um,
Well, I know with the cheerleading team, we, over breaks and things, have to travel, and it's like ridiculously expensive to eat when you're traveling. So, our booster club, and we actually had like a, what is it, when they a donation and you make money off of it. They
Oh.
just, like, I don't even know what it's called.
A grant?
It's like somebody donated a ton of money, and
Endowments.
it's maybe.
Endorse.
It's in like an account, and whatever interest is made, we get like to
A
help
trust.
us.
Yep.
Trust, maybe, I don't know.
I doubt. But
Whatever. So it
That's
helps.
I'm not a
us
business
also.
major. I'm not a business major.
And that's like something that helps us pay for
Trust
things.
us.
So we all get
I don't know.
X amount of
It's a lot
money,
of money.
depending on how many days we're gone. It's like, it's a set number a day for food.
Yeah.
I mean, like any job would, I guess. So, and I know that there's a lot of people out there willing to donate that money, so that's an option to help kids. So that even, they'd be allowed.
So what we would say that would be like just boosters.
Yeah, just like, I guess, donors, like donors, like friends, booster, like donor.
And I think about like because you know some like athletes they are going to like training every day, so they just don't have many times on study and stuff. So I think like school can set up a specific course for these athletes to just like at the beginning to set this course like we have like for example like CAS 100, maybe we can set a kind of CAS class for them called CAS 100 sports or other stuff like just athletes can enter. Yeah, and then before they enter, they are going to consider if they are going to treat their career fair. I mean, in sports as professional or amateur. So if they're amateur, maybe they just go to the like CAS 100 like us. But if they're professional, they can talk with advisor and then ask advisor to put them in the list in the CAS, like the special course list.
So would this be like a special class to like help them decide if they're gonna go here for school versus athletics, or it's just like this course is for athletes only?
For athlete only because they have some like problem with like maybe study like us, like we have like plenty of time to study, but they have to training. So maybe just make the course much more simple for them, like easier for them, to
They-
help them to
I
get.
know
They do have some, but.
I
maybe
know
it's
there's
too
so many resources out there that they have for everyone. It's like tutors, this, that, it's absurd.
They're here in summer too, so they have like
And they take less
less workload
class, yes.
in fall and spring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Stuff like that.
Like, I have a wrestling friend, he actually dates me,
Yeah.
but, he got redshirted last year, so he hurt himself, poor kid, God bless him. This year he hurt himself again, and then he has one class. He
Yeah.
does nothing now, cause he doesn't wrestle, well, he didn't, like,
So
one
you still
class.
scholarship?
Mhm.
Wait, Saturday?
He's hurt himself last year, so he's redshirted. This year he, oh my God, he's probably gonna hate me for talking about him, but this year he hurt himself again, and he's taking one class, cause it's wrestling, like, season or whatever.
Yeah.
And so they don't have, he's literally taking them.
So why not just set up the course according to their season, like a kind of like March Madness, or just set 7 course in March, something like that.
Mhm.
Could be. Most schools give stipend out, right? Don't they give
I
something?
don't
They give
think
something.
I don't know if all of them do. I know Boston College.
It depends on the university.
Alright, well, some do, but one solution would be give them more, like more that like they can actually, use to their benefit or the way they want to use it. I think I read like maybe 3,000 they got or 2,000 of some schools that give, which is definitely not enough.
Yeah, I think
So
too, like, it's gonna depend on, your sport, your school and everything, so, I know, like, it's hard, I keep bringing out the cheerleader thing, it's stupid, but, we put in so much and we don't get anything in return, in terms of that stuff, like,
Scholarship.
and we also have one of the highest team GPAs, so it's like, a solution would be, maybe have define what sports actually are and what they actually do, and make sure that across the board, across the nation, every school, you define what you do. Because I know cheerleaders at Penn State do a lot more than cheerleaders at other schools. So depending on that, like, those criteria should be set, and then the money could be allocated, like, by that,
And I had something like that too. You pay them like the way like they generate profit for
Yeah.
the school. So like a Robert Griffin or Johnny Manziel, he probably made. I actually read something. Anthony Davis, he made $2 million for Kentucky himself. It's his senior year. So like he should obviously be getting more money than like someone else at a D1 school who, although he's putting a lot of time, he's not actually like generating as much revenue for the school as an Anthony Davis or something like that.
right.
So those kind of things. That
And if it could be like individual based too, that'd be
Yeah.
hard, but that would be awesome. That'd be the most fair, I think, out of all the options.
So one of the things I read was that. Do you guys know who Andrew Wiggins is?
Yes.
No.
If you like basketball, you know who Andrew Wiggins is. And
He's
before the season started, before he even went to Kansas or played for Kansas, Adidas wanted to sign him to a $180 million contract for wearing a pair of shoes. But he can't, because you can't sign personal endorsements outside of school.
Yeah.
But who would that really affect
Yeah.
besides him? Why shouldn't like a whole bunch of other athletes be able to just accept
Well,
personal
yeah.
endorsements?
I mean, someone like that though, he's just gonna get the deal after a year anyway, because he's going to NBA. Like right now, he's going to the NBA, so he'll just get that deal right now anyway. So that's not a huge problem.
I know.
But would
But
that
I
be a
think-
solution?
I
to,
know what
like-
you're saying, and I like the other thing that I can relate to that, and I can totally agree is I think like sponsorship and stuff should totally be allowed 100% because like guess what? If we're gonna say like okay, so this is students students who play sports, it's like their equivalent of being in like a club on campus.
Mhm.
I used to be in ACM, and guess what? Microsoft was our sponsor. We needed anything,
Yeah.
literally anything, and they just wrote a check. We had unlimited pizza
Awesome.
and soda at every single meeting, every single week.
Mhm.
We just had money to do anything. We wanted a new cool robot to play with. Boom! They just wrote the check for
I do
it.
what?
Like
ACM.
we got those 4 things that like float the I can't remember what they're called. Like those robots you program, and they fly and they look like little squares, and they have the 4 propellers on them. They just like write checks. Like Microsoft is our sponsor for that club, so they just write checks for us because it's helping us develop our skills and then they look to hire us in the
Right.
future. So like, just like Adidas would look to be like, okay, Andrew, here's some money for you to like live comfortably in college because we want you to be able to perform better and play well and eat well and dress well on campus because we want you to represent our company one day. I think that's totally should be allowed,
Yeah.
and it'd be a good solution or part of a solution because that's
Yeah,
what other
that's
clubs do on campus. Like I
Yeah.
said, ACM, we've literally got unlimited, like they have unlimited funds from Microsoft. Like, there's no budget. They're like, hey guys, like what do we want? Like, oh yeah, cool. Like, oh, I'll just call Microsoft, get a new server. Like,
So
I mean,
I just feel like
what if like these endorsements like had a partner contract with a school or the other athletes benefited from this one athlete? It's just like written in, maybe like 20% of what you make
Yeah.
would go to the school and helping
I think that's
the
fair.
other students.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I would agree.
So what do you think, like, if the elders can, like, when they just buying food in, like, Penn State, they can just, like, count, like, 10% off or just 20% off when they just buy
Yeah.
food from school? They can just have, like,
yeah,
a
percentage,
percentage.
like
yeah.
military does.
Yeah, like,
What?
Mind you, they
10
protect their
percentage
country, but-
off when they buy food. Like we get
Yeah,
this
it's
for
not
$10 and they can just get this food for $8 or $7.
Like a student athlete discount.
Yes.
Yeah,
To give a school?
That's a good idea. Just when you're in
that's a
school,
good idea. Yeah.
because you can't get a job.
Yeah.
That's a very good idea.
I'm sorry, I'm not catching on.
Like a food for our common students. We're going to buy the food in Penn State for $10, but for the elders, they can buy the food like $7 and $8, like $2 cheaper than ours.
Yeah,
Wow.
like a discount for student athletes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Discounts.
So like essentially like giving them more benefits monetarily wise than just like we're paying for your education. You got your housing. Don't worry about that.
So that in addition to what they already get?
Yeah, and like the direct form could be anything. You know, whether they go out and they like pay with their credit card and they like automatically 30% of that bill gets sent to, you know, Penn State or whatever. Like however it would be done. But yeah, like
Bring the receipts.
basic
or
needs.
something.
Basic needs would be a great way to put it.
Yeah.
Discounts on basic needs: clothing, food, housing.
Alright.
And a book.
Supplies.
From, like,
Yeah.
like
Supplies.
study.
Books, study
Yeah.
supplies.
I mean, I think overall solution-wise, it's just gonna be, changing the NCAA's policy, and then the ways that we change it are those.
I have one more solution. Were you gonna go, Kate?
No, I'm thinking.
So, I think I read it somewhere, but so a lot of these athletes, the ones that like plan on going for the pros, come and get like this rowdy hoodah BS or BM. But what if some of them are just really only here for the athletics, and they're just kind of like wasting time doing scholarship stuff? What if we set up a program where they can achieve their associate's degree, so that way they have a couple of courses done,
There you
they have
go.
more time for
Yeah.
doing school, they're not like having to run around and cheat on courses like music science, music theory or history. And then, so they just have like their own independent program.
Yeah.
Then, they leave with their associate's degree, they do their professional career if they have to.
They still have a degree.
Yeah, yeah,
Probably of more value just because they actually put the time into it.
right.
Yeah.
And then they can just use that associate's degree when they retire or during the spring when they're off to come back and work on their actual.
Yeah.
And it would also allow them to like maybe actually pick an area of study that they're more interested in.
Yeah.
Right.
Too, like you said. So I think that'd be a great solution.
Yeah.
Alright, sweet.
I'm thinking, sorry, I'm just saying because I'm thinking aloud. So this is the law right now. It says, it's, a student athlete loses their amateur status and should not be eligible for intercollegiate competition in a particular sport if you enter into any written or oral agreement with an agent for representation. That's like a big issue, is the agency nonsense. But we're not really discussing that, we're discussing compensation. So the student athlete or a family member accepts or receives any benefits from an agent or anybody who wishes to represent, which I don't see why that's, like, this law can just be changed, you know what I mean? Like the student athlete signs a contract or commitment. Student athlete competes with a professional sports team or competes, blah, blah, blah. Sorry, I'm getting to the, student athlete receives directly or indirectly a salary reimbursement of expenses or any other form of financial assistance from a professional sports organization based upon athletic skill or participation, except as permitted by the NCAA rules. But like, why can't they be reimbursed by, like, the, you know what I mean, like, the NFL wants them, then why can't they be reimbursed? I don't get it. You know, maybe even professional sports reimbursements could be a solution, like, they could get involved with it.
I would agree.
If they wanna
Yeah.
recruit them. for
And it
it.
noted it in that one article too that like professional sports love college because for them it's just free. It's
Yeah.
free training for their future
Yep.
things. So they should be like they could be paying X amount. You know, instead of paying their next quarterback, you know, $15 million or whatever over the next 4 years, they can pay him $12 million and send $3 million down and then disperse it as stipends to players that they are looking
It's
in.
motivation too.
Yeah.
It is.
I think
nice.
it's pretty cool. I like that.
So,
I like NBA too, NFL, NBA. Both.
Yeah, and
But NBA, because those are the two big. Like, those are the two ones that generate all this revenue. Like, I know some of the money that the football team makes helps support all the other sports. That's
The
why those
entire
kids are
football
out there
program?
like
Yeah.
funds.
selling programs and stuff on Saturdays.
Exactly. I mean, I was told by, don't quote me, but the football team's revenue pays for the entire healthcare of every athlete, like me,
So
everyone.
wow, that's awesome.
Which, thank you, football, but,
I can believe it.
Yeah, I could have fixed her heel.
yeah.
Felt broke.
Yeah, no, it was terrible.
Yeah, isn't it weird? Like these kids come into these schools and like they wait until February so they can sign their name down,
Mhm.
so the schools won't have to worry about them like going off somewhere else.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they might find something better than us.
Yeah.
You know what I thought was weird? The, signing day, they made a big deal about it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Like, what's with that? Like, they're signing to
They're-
come here,
Yeah.
and like,
Because they're so
They're
they're
boosting-
recruited
it's like
so
a
hard by all
contract, yeah.
schools that
It's
like
a
it's a big deal when they pick like this school or that one. you know?
yeah, it's not like,
Like Alabama
you're
or
gonna
LSU.
come and be a good student.
Because they're afraid
No.
that like,
Exactly. It's not like
It's a big deal because they're making the
Commit
sports
here.
better.
and then Alabama's
so,
gonna
like,
come out of
yeah.
nowhere and be like, hey, we really like you. You should come here instead.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden, what? May the kid jump ship to Alabama.
That's
But it's a
competition.
publicity thing, like they should be paid for that, like they don't, you know
Yeah,
what I mean?
that's true. Yeah,
That's
like
the thing.
celebrities get paid for making appearances on
Yeah.
things.
Yeah,
I
they have
mean-
all their names all over like sport recruitment stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, I was talking to somebody and, cause I was trying to figure out what, like, could be done about this, and they were like, well, isn't, putting that you're a student athlete on your resume enough of a solution? Like, you get that. I was like, no, because, like, half of these people don't really care about that, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think like the guy sitting across from the desk at the career fair and like, oh, you're a student athlete. Oh, like unless you have something in common.
Yes.
Like, hey, I used to play football at
Or football did this for
Ohio
me, I
State.
learned this from it, like,
Yeah.
but no, like, just having that, like, on your resume, like, isn't going to, it's not enough of a solution.
And the
At the
It's not
same
fair.
time, it can give an unfair advantage where like, oh, you played football for Penn State, we'd love to have you.
I think it's a fair advantage.
That's true.
I have a question.
I think that's one of like the compensations for your hard work too.
Yeah, exactly.
But like, and the other thing too is at the same time, I was like, well, all those kids are here training in the summer. Like, hey, I was off making tons of money at an internship this past summer, and then I got a job out of that. So like, hey, they weren't able to do that going into their senior year because they were practicing and getting ready
Yeah,
for the season.
that's true too.
So
I don't know. I mean, like
Yeah.
a lot of times you just hear people get hired because like, oh, I know your name from watching the TV the other day.
yeah.
What did you do? Oh, I don't care. I saw your name.
Mm-hmm.
So like just grant college Albert's access to commercial free market.
Hmm?
Like to grant college Albert's access to the commercial free market.
Yeah, like the free market value, like they make revenue out of how much they bring in individually. I think that's a really
So
good
I
solution.
have a question like if there is Albert, he play very well on a competition, he's outstanding, and the food company they just look him, really love him and let him to like ask them if he could like be the advertise for their
Spokesperson,
yes. So
sponsor.
can they just go there even if they're college student?
Can they what?
Can they just like accept their request?
Not until they graduate. Under NCAA law, it says blah, blah, blah. Yeah, they can't sign any contract or an oral agreement with an agent for representation. So like like an Adidas person can't. If you go to Penn State, you can't say, yeah, I'm gonna go with you to do this guy. It's illegal. You would officially not be an amateur, and then you wouldn't be able to play. That's,
I think it's time to pick a solution, I feel.
another solution can be individual spawn, like.
Don't we have to talk about the positives and negatives of each before we pick?
Yeah, we
I'm pretty sure
should.
it's pretty good.
Oh, well, yeah,
Yeah.
maybe let's, like, instead of brainstorming,
Do we have any?
now we start picking a solution. So, what, we'll start with,
Yeah, I like the indoors.
what's that?
What is indoors and something?
Oh, so, somebody
Like
makes
individual
like
base, what not?
800 million
How much time I got?
Adidas, and then they split it up, a small portion of it.
They get
amongst
like taxed by the university.
Okay, so would it be
Yeah,
on an individual
exactly.
level? Because I know Nike sponsors us, like we get everything free, but
Right.
Yeah.
if we're caught wearing Under Armour, because I know like a lot of our shorts are like the same color, Nike, and we would be dead to the world, literally. So, is it like, let's say, the cheer, you know, it wouldn't be on a university level, it'd be on an individual level, right? So like, if I was a super good cheerleader, they'd give me, Adidas would give me something, my teammate would have Nike. Is that how we're gonna think of that? And then,
It'd be like you star in a commercial, you make some money for that commercial.
you what?
You'd be like in a commercial, and you star in that, you get in that commercial, you get like so much money, and then the school taxes you to help pay for other things. But you still get like 75%.
Okay. So I'm thinking of
Yeah, so
completely
like,
different.
they can put like your name on their products. They can be like, yo,
Mhm.
these are like the Wiggins ones, like
Right.
the first pairs of shoes that they're making. But he doesn't necessarily have to wear them or whatever. Like, he doesn't have to wear them, but like they're gonna use his name, use his brand that he's creating,
Oh, and then they get paid for it.
and then he'll get paid for it. Like now, he can't go out and wear those if he's sponsored by Nike or something.
During
But the thing
Okay,
is,
but
there's-
his name's on it, I
Yeah,
understand.
oh, it's all covered like it's appearances, endorsements, all that other kind of stuff that they can do. You know?
Okay, I get it, thank you.
And then yeah, the university can tax you like 40% or 30% or like whatever. 'Cause-
Yeah.
And like whatever, like a good chunk of change. Like they should have the right to there should be like a set amount. Like, hey, all endorsements to college athletes get taxed 35% by the university.
Mhm.
Right. You want to do that a plus and a negative, a plus or just a negative?
What do you mean?
Like, I guess the easiest way to do that is to do this would just be give each one a plus, everything gets a plus, or a minus.
Mhm.
So, taking a start at stipends.
Okay, I think the stipends. I think that's too broad of a thing. I think
Yeah.
there's not enough constraints on just
Yeah,
doing
because like how
stipends.
much are you gonna give it?
Yeah,
So I don't think that's a great one, but I think a combination of considering the hours that each athlete puts in, like an hourly job, because that's the big argument is they can't have jobs,
Mhm.
is something that we need. So they'll get a stipend based on a set of restraints. They're just going to get paid like it's their job because it is.
That's
their job.
very, yeah.
Yeah.
So you're getting paid like essentially by the hour for required hours you have to be at practice.
But the problem with that too is like, as I said before, like a D1 like guy like Andrew Wiggins who makes a lot of money for Kansas, would he be not getting the same amount as
Mhm.
another D1 player who's just
Yes.
on the
Correct.
bench?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it would be
Go
based
by
on
hours.
university, but yeah, you're being paid by your hours to be there. That guy's not playing on the bench, but he plays for the Kansas team. If someone gets hurt, he's going to be expected to play,
Right.
and he's still there putting his time in,
Mhm.
and that's taking away from him not being able to have a real job.
Yeah.
So no matter what, he's still
Yeah.
there. Yeah. This is not a this like solution is a bias. Like the endorsements thing is where Andrew Wiggins will make his money because
Yeah.
he's that good. So that's his little like icing on the
Right.
cake.
Mhm.
But the hourly job is across all the athletes on one team. They all get paid the same amount per hour that they're putting in for work.
Yeah.
Okay. So what, we just want to like work this in to one big topic?
No, you can go through positive and negatives of
Yeah.
Yeah.
like the rest of them.
We only
And
got a
then
couple
go
more
back.
minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Who's the donor stipends?
Donors won't donate to every sport. It's not fair.
Yeah. Negative.
More athlete courses.
I mean, I'd be pissed if
And I don't think that
Yeah.
solves the money problem.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
I think athlete courses is stupid. I think
Mhm.
when we revisit this and a few of them, we come back to the associate's degree thing. I think that's a much better solution.
Mhm.
No, is that already an option though?
Huh.
The associate's degree thing.
I'm not sure.
Is it?
I have no idea.
Well, we
should
can
probably-
I know.
look into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I saw a suggestion for it. That's where I got mine. Alright. So the definitive payment system.